Is the microphone working? Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you for coming on a rainy Friday afternoon. I think this will be well worth your time today. This is the first of our series of Life After Laurier science lectures. And before I introduce the speaker, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about the Life After Laurier science lecture series and where we started it. Firstly, in 2007, the Faculty of Science initiated a Dean's External Advisory Council. And this is an advisory body of the Dean of Science that provides advice and guidance to help increase the faculty's engagement in external audiences. And it also encourages and supports strategic partnerships and helps increase fundraising opportunities. So the members of the Dean's External Advisory Council are made up of alumni who graduated from our many programs. And the Life After Laurier Science Speaking Series is one of the projects that was started through discussion with this council. So if you've gotten a brochure on this, you'll see that there's a number of these lectures coming every month, and they will feature a graduate of one of our programs in each of the months that come. And we hope to do this over the years as a regular series that goes forward. And I think I'm glad to see that there are some students here as well, because this is really speaking to the students and assuring them in some ways that there is life after Laurier science, and that many of our graduates take their degrees and use them to further their careers. And part of what this is to show you how they did that with their degree and where they are today, and how the degree in some ways facilitated that. So it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce our inaugural speaker for the Life After Laurier Science Series, Gail Czukar. And Gail graduated from Laurier in 1973 with a BA in Community Psychology and returned to complete her Master's in Psychology in 1975. Gail currently serves as the Executive Vice President, Policy, Education, Health Promotion, and Legal Services for the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. So she's got a large portfolio. Prior to joining the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in 2000, Gail was a lawyer and policy manager with the Ontario Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, where she worked on legislation for long-term care, health system restructuring, and mental health, and advised government on various areas of health law, including the primary care reform and health care consent. So Gail is also a founding member of the Journal of Ethics and Mental Health, and has written and spoken on topics ranging from protection of privacy, consent to treatment, and substitute decision-making to the rights of disabled people, and reform of mental health and addiction systems. So please join me in welcoming Gail Czuker.
I'm not used to speaking in a lecture hall. I'm used to a bit of a more informal kind of venue, so this works for you. And if you can hear me without the mic, yeah? I'm told this works wherever I stand, so I might just move around a bit. But I have tried to make it a bit interesting, knowing, you know, what kind of time it is in the week and so on. So at WLU, this is sort of a series of questions that I asked myself. You know, why do people do what they do was kind of the motivating factor. I don't know where that came from, but I was very interested in that question. And once I got a bit of an inkling of that, I thought, how can it be better? How does the world work? How can the world be better? And what is better anyway? And those were just sort of some of the things that I brought to this. We all get out what we put in. And these were some of the things I brought to my inquiry when I came to school here. So what did I learn? Well, many things, and I've just listed some of the things that I felt have been most important to me in what I've done. So skills around critical analysis, learning about what the importance of history and context is in the world of psychology, in the world of community, in the world of change, values, and I'm going to talk a lot about values during this presentation. Process. So I work in a place actually that employs the largest number of psychologists in Canada, just so that you know, the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. And we are known for our process. And that's often not a particularly positive thing to be said in a facility that has operates on a medical model. As those process people, that's all they're going to be. Where's the outcome? Where's the result? Where's the action? So what I learned here was process skills, yes, but with a purpose. What are the goals? What do you need the process for? But process skills are key. Research methods. Knowledge creation is huge, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that. In our world today, we need more knowledge creation, and we need people who know how to use that knowledge. And you have to know how to do it. So I understand some of you may have written the stats exam this morning. It's very important. I don't know how bad it was, but you need to know stats. And I'm going to have some stats here. So what didn't I learn that I wish I had learned? Well, I wish I had learned how to make a deal. And some of my former teachers are in the room. And Ed actually knows how to make a deal. And I wish he had imparted some of those skills, because today where I work it would be very useful. And I don't know that as well as I'd like to. I wish I had learned how to fight non-defensively. And I know fighting is not something psychologists talk about very much. We talk about conflict resolution and all of those important skills. The fact is, sometimes you have to fight, and you have to fight for what you believe in and what you want, and you need to get it for other people or for yourself, and you need to know how to do that without defeating yourself. And I personally tend to do that in a way that's too defensive, and it defeats me, and it defeats what I need to do, which is not a good thing. So if you can pick that skill up somewhere, it would be useful. So after WLU, what happened to me? Well, I won't go through all the gory details, but I went to work for what is now known as the Canadian Association for Community Living, the Canadian Mental Health Association, Ontario Division. I was CACL, I was developing some advocacy programs across the country, CMHA. I was one of the first consultants to be hired when the government first put money into community mental health programs. So I was helping community mental health programs develop their programming at that stage in 1976 to about 1980. I met someone. I went to law school. I got a law degree. I had no idea what lawyers did. People say, oh, you wanted to be a lawyer. I had no idea what lawyers did. I did work with a lawyer at CMHA Ontario who was leading the government's changes to the Mental Health Act in 1978. And I kind of liked the way he thought about things and the things he did, and I thought, that would be useful. And he was an advocate. He was a defender of people's rights. He had worked the very initial review boards for people with mental health problems. And that was a very useful peer role model for me, and I thought, okay, law school seems like a good place to go until I can get some credibility, because nobody was interested in listening to my ideas about what should happen in psych hospitals. And by the way, if anybody had said to me in 1973 or 1975 or even 1980, you're going to run a mental hospital one day, I would have said, yeah, right, that's a joke. After law school, I needed a job, and there was a recession. Does that sound familiar? They said lawyers will never get jobs. And my old friend Dave Baker, who I knew from CMHA, was now running the Advocacy Resource Center for the Handicapped. And he said, I need somebody to do public education. I said, David, I don't want to do public education. I did that before, and I don't like it. And he said, that's the job. Do you want it? Absolutely. I needed the money. There are great motivations for getting jobs, one of which is you need the money. So I did that job for a while. My husband, because by then we were married, had a job in Ottawa, and so it seemed like a good idea if I was going to have kids to be living in Ottawa. So I moved there and started doing my own kind of law practice and consulting and so on, because it turned out I was pregnant. So Will was the next person along in my plan of career. Plans, by the way, are a little bit kind of hard to follow sometimes, but Will happened. He's the one, I don't have a thing, but he's the one at the front of the rowboat, the one on the left in the bottom picture. That one on the bottom is a little more recent, as you can see.